It's like what Beck said. Lord only knows. It's like what George Harrison said. My sweet Lord. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Bees. And I know that this is a new release and we might be a little late in getting to it, but there's no time like the present. We're here, we're in the now, and we're here with the new Lorde album, everybody. Virgin. Now, I loved Lorde's debut. Some of those singles that were released just kind of encapsulated where I was in my adolescence at the time. And I'm kind of echoing what I had said when we had listened to Melodrama, right? So that was the next Lorde album that she had released after the debut. And it was okay. It was perfectly fine. But if I'm being completely honest, I think out of all the albums that we've reacted to here on the channel, as much as they've grabbed me, that one probably has grabbed me one of the least, right? It wasn't necessarily bad at all, but I think you can hear something go, not for me. But I did like some of the things that that album had to bring. I thought it was some of Jack Antonoff's most interesting production and all the little intricacies of a romantic relationship that were featured in that album. So from like maybe a thematic standpoint, it worked for me, but musically, instrumentally, sonically, I felt that there was a lot to be desired, but that's just my taste, right? But I think I can understand why maybe for whether it's the general public or for Lorde's fans, why you could just eat that up and just keep eating it. I don't know what to expect with this. I know that there's been an album or two in between this release. This is just a brand new release from a big name that I thought that we should get to here on the channel. And on that note, let me know what other new releases are coming out this year that I should be getting to and that should really be on my radar, and we should react to them as soon as they drop. As well as letting me know your thoughts on any of my thoughts as we go through this record. If you're driving what I'm putting down, consider liking the video and subscribing to see more of these reactions. If you ever want to catch these reactions before they come out on YouTube, uncut, in full, go ahead and check out my Patreon. We can get just that for a buckaroony, baby. R.I.P. Weed Lord? Oh boy. We got a little interesting album cover here on first glance. This looked like a GoPro stuck in Lorde's abdomen, but that is not the case. Once you see the zipper, oh, it's a belt buckle, right? It's a belt buckle. This is going to be a quick little in and out, ladies and gentlemen. 34 minutes, 56 seconds. All right, so we'll get into this. I am excited. New release, same old Lorde. Although I don't know. Maybe she switched up her style. Anyway, this is Virgin by Lorde, 2025, 11 songs, half hour long, just a little over. First song, Hammer.
And I burn and I sing and I scheme and I dance. Some days I'm a woman, some days I'm a man. Oh, I might have been born again. I'm ready to feel like I don't have the answers. There's peace in the madness over our heads. Let it carry me. Played truant. I took tears and they played me to do it. Oh, I might have been born again. I'm ready to feel like I don't have the answers. There's peace in the madness over our heads. Let it carry me. Till I'm just a voice living in your head. It's a fun to been to hell and back, but I've sent you a postcard from the edge.
All right, so that was the first song on the record, Hammer. So far, right? I like the movements in this one. I like how the beat kind of came in right as I expected it to. Sometimes I like it when you give me a curveball, right? You give me something I don't expect, but it's comfortable. It's nice to listen to. I don't know how much I said this in the Melodrama reaction, but Lorde's voice is fantastic. At least the sound of her voice is, she might not have like exceptional range or something like that, but it is very distinctive, and I like how her accent kind of bleeds through it a lot. As far as some themes, it seems that there's this ambivalence going on, maybe, that there's a ambiguity of sorts happening. So obviously maybe this is like the titular line here. When you're holding a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So maybe in the sense of like, this is what, my perception of things is looking at it through this lens. If I have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Whereas, if you have like ketchup, everything's a French fry, right? You know what I mean? Is maybe a different connotation to it. It even goes a little bit deeper. Some days I'm a woman, some days I'm a man. So is this like a commentary on gender identity, gender fluidity, maybe? Not terribly sure. We'll see how these themes kind of evolve and progress as we get through the album. And it seems as though that Lorde's inviting this ambiguity in. I'm ready to feel like I don't have the answers. There's a piece in the madness over our head. So kind of letting maybe the wanderlust of things, or maybe just the uncertain nature of life kind of carry Lorde to the next thing. Jiving with it so far. She said this track is basically her being a horny city girl. Well, there goes all my interpretations. What was that? This is the single.
City, a chair in the bed, a cover up old scene. I gave you everything, now we wake from a dream. Well, baby, what was that?
Signature vintage Lorde right there.
When in blue light down, baby, so bright, I face reality. I tried to let whatever has to pass through me, pass through. But this is staying a while. I know in my just like that, blue light, I can make it alright. What was that?
So I don't know what is making this one sound that I heard quite a bit of in Melodrama, but like I don't know what that is, but that is just like that seems to be Lorde's thing right there. And I don't know. It's like quirky and cute, but like kind of like spacey and odd. maybe that perfectly describes Lorde. I don't know. I don't know if there's another meaning for it, but just relating it to my own life. When I was 17 and a younger man than I am now, I had a few very inspiring and influential illicit drug experiences. When I think back to it, just takes me back to that place. Now, drugs are bad, okay? Right? Just want to put that out there. Because, kids are going to experiment, though. That's just the thing. That's what's going to fucking happen. Now, since I don't know if this happened when she was 17, but you say since I was 17, so putting me back in that headspace and then mentioning this, like, damn, that was a good cigarette, wasn't it? And I'm liking how this one's moving so far. The beat's kind of driving us forward between these last two songs. I surely expect it and invite it to get a lot slower at some point. But so far with the pacing, we're moving along quite well here. It's like Jack's still with us. Well, yeah, I see, at least on this track, Lorde was the producer, and I kind of threw maybe those weird sounds maybe to the credit of Jack Antonoff. And again, the joke here is that I give Jack Antonoff a really hard time on the channel. But honestly, I think that was some of his most interesting production choices. And an album that sounded pretty decent, or at least things that I hadn't really heard from a project of his coming through on Melodrama. I don't know if he's involved in this at all. We will see as we go track to track. No, so that's Lorde is credited as the producer on the first two tracks here. So taking the power back, as it were. Taking the power from Jack, as it were. There's no Jack here at all. They broke up. Shapeshifter.
That I've slept with over pairs of hands. I'm reckless if I found without it impersonal, so I'm not affected. I've been the eyes, I've been the flame, I've been the prize, the ball and chain, I've been stolen and leave alone. I become her again. Visions of a teenage innocence. Oh, but tonight I just wanna fall. Yeah, tonight I just wanna fall. I'll kick you out. I shake again. Swear that you would shapeshifters, and then it's all again. Say I'm not affected. But tonight I just wanna fall.
First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for Lorde's production on this track. Really, really like how the bass came through in this one between, it's like that initial drop when it's really just the bass carrying us through that first chorus. And then the cellos come in, right? I'm pretty sure they were cellos, this like very low string instrument came in. Whether or not that's like through the synth, I don't know. But really like that. And then how the bass kind of evolved towards the end of it. Not a ton of high and low end there, but I think that's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot you hit the ball. And I like how this is kind of carrying on from that first song. So this idea that she's a shapeshifter trying to, maybe become the best version of herself or really of anybody, given the situation, that she's in, and, this really unapologetic transparency here, like everyone that I've slept with, right, going through all this. So it's whether, I'm doing this as a means to an end, who might I say what the motives are there, right? And then that juxtaposed with tonight I just want to fall. So fall in love or just fall into a void space kind of a deal. Also, this is just for me here, right? Do you have the stones? We need to bring that phrase around more. Oh, you don't got the balls to do that. Ew, gross. Do you got the stones? Whoa. Actually, yeah. Do I have the stones? Makes you think a little bit. I think it comes through harder when you say that. This is Man of the Year. So I know that what was the big single off of the record, but I have heard some pretty good things about this song, just in the general online discourse since this album has come out. It's been kind of hard to avoid it.
Violent, sweet music. You met me at a really strange time in my life. Days go by in a haze, stay up and sleep late. Who's gonna love me like this? Oh, who could give me like this? Where he flowed down through me, love me like this. To hear. How I hope that I remembered my gold chain, my shoulders, my face in the light. Oh, I didn't think he'd appear. Let's hear it for the man of the year.
I don't give a fuck if that's a literal Man of the Year, a figurative Man of the Year. Let's hear it for fucking Lorde, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus. Was not expecting such a soulful delivery from Lorde. I haven't, in pure candor, haven't listened to everything. I don't know if we get exceptionally soulful in Solar Power, although that would make sense. But the melodies coming out of her voice and that power that she, especially as the song builds, these songs are really building and progressing quite well to me. The production. Who the fuck is Jack? I don't know. I've never met him in my entire life. from something that I was hopefully, right in clocking earlier in the album, this is like another sense of, gender fluidity. I think you get that in two ways, like from my new recent ego death, right? So maybe even going back to psychedelics. I don't know if that's exactly what we're referring to, but, it's a concept that's talked a lot about, with use of psychedelics, maybe like very deep meditation where you kind of let go from yourself, instead of being Jerry B's, you just be, right? You are who you are. How I hope that I'm remembered, my gold chain, my shoulders, my face in the light, I didn't think he'd appear. So is this Lorde seeing the man within herself? For some reason, people think that the gold chain, my shoulders, my face in the light line is being referenced to her past albums. But to me, this is so obviously what she's talking about in this one interview where she says she imagined herself singing this song on stage shirtless, wearing jeans and a chain with tape over her chest. That lyric is literally saying, I hope people will remember me in the same way that I see my ideal self. Well, and to me, gold chain shoulders, I don't know, maybe you think of like men with maybe more pronounced shoulders than you would generally speaking of women, right? If you want to go off of like just stereotypes, just like fucking linebacker shoulders or something like that. Or in the case of that argument, at least, having your shirt off. I didn't think he'd appear. So I think that's pretty apt to say that, yeah, this is like officially like we're in, gender fluidity territory as far as the theming here is concerned. And actually that's even better that we go the gospel route, because that's seeing the light, right? That is a revelation. And for people who struggle with that, or if it is a struggle, it can be a struggle until you maybe accept who you are, and maybe you get that validation either from yourself or from other people, that can feel like a religious fucking experience. You know what I mean? I'll do it again. Yeah, let's continue to take care of business here. Favorite daughter.
Some notes I don't hit, but I don't give up. In it for your love, 'cause I'm an actress. All of the medals I won for ya, to ya. Breaking my back just hoping you'll say I'm a star. You had a brother, I look like him. Now that every day the plane takes off, and every night the room fills towards her. Everywhere I run, I'm always running to ya. I'm a good actress. Look at the medals I won for ya. To be as brave as my mother.
I am in just such a better place with the compositions on this one, guys. I mean, I really don't want to sound like a broken record by the end of this record, but I mean, it just stands to reason. It just does. And these aren't long songs, but she's packing so much into it. And not so much that it's distracting me a lot, but there are like little things I'm hearing as the song continues, just for like brief seconds, right? Some mixing choices, some instrumentation here and there. And then by the end of it, it's everywhere. I think I love this song so much because of just how many interpretations you can make for it. At first I thought, like, is this a love letter to the fans? And I think it can be interpreted as that. Is this, at the end of it, a love letter to her parents? Or specifically her mother right there, right? I think that can also be an interpretation. I think maybe this is maybe just so, like, just being, like, incredibly thankful for the people that she's had along the way. At least that's what it kind of got to me. Now, like I said, I was kind of paying attention to the production too. So if I missed something, please do let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. The next song, Current Affairs, is horrible to me because she glorifies that leaked Pamela Anderson tape that Pamela said was traumatizing. It was beautiful. Well, we've talked about that a little bit. When it comes to sex tape drama, my favorite is the fucking Hulk Hogan one, because that one also helped the idea that if you're a billionaire, you can also just silence news outlets. Now, it's not like Gawker was the most respectable news outlet on the planet, but it did send a pretty scary precedent. And also, I'm not sympathetic to Hulk Hogan at all. So this is what Lorde said about the leak. I found it so beautiful, and maybe that's effed up that I think I watched it. But I saw two people that were so in love with each other, and there was this purity. They get so detached from reality to mention it in a song. Like, hey, if you didn't want your sex tape being leaked, I'd be pretty pissed off too. If that was my sex tape and it got leaked, and I didn't mean for it to get leaked, I'd be pissed off too. You know, maybe Lorde's trying to do the whole, like, oh, well, even though I wasn't supposed to see it, it still is a representation of a, you know, love behind closed doors, right? We did see something private. It's an example of that. But the fact that it is public kind of throws that all out the door, doesn't it? Now, I think it'd be a different thing if Pamela and Tommy Lee were like, yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's completely fine. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to listen to the song then. Seems like we might get into a little bit of controversy with this one. This is Current Affairs.
Those are flare. You tasted my underwear. I knew we were fucked. My bed is on fire. Mama, I'm so scared. Don't know how to come back. Once I get out, watching the tape of their honeymoon. On the boat, it was pure and true. Then the film came out. Hope that we can ignore. Were you ever like this? Once you went out on the edge, she spit in my mouth like he's saying a prayer. But now I'm high enough to know. Yeah, I think he's gonna blame it on. Current affairs.
So that was Current Affairs, and I did mention at the top of the song that this one has a little bit of controversy surrounding it. So this one is referencing the Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee whoopee flick, as I'm going to call it on YouTube. You know, I will go ahead and stand on this hill that I've used for, you know, other artists with, like, you know, just like weird, like, okay, like, why are you saying that in a song? It's like, why are you admitting that? You know, they're the artists. They're going to put out what they want. See this as an air of transparency. And I think that's an especially brave thing to do, because you are putting it out there, this thing that people might have opinions on. So, you know, maybe in Lorde's case, right, maybe the fans would like Lorde to go, no, you need to, like, besmirch the existence of that tape getting leaked out and all of that. And I think that might be the general consensus. Things are a little bit more black and white than that. I've never seen it. I don't want to see it. So even if I did, and I was, like, writing songs, I don't know, would I put it in a song? Probably not. I think she's glorifying it is kind of a stretch, but it's still weird. No, I don't think she's, I mean, like I said, I think there is a point to, you know, seeing two people being intimate, and it's pure and true, but the fact that was supposed to be a very private moment between them, you know, that kind of got, you know, that whole idea of privacy got thrown out the window when that got released. But as far as we knew, that is still two people being intimate, right? It's a fly on the wall when there's not any walls, so to speak. Or there shouldn't have been any walls. But, like, even with the controversy surrounding it, I'm, like, fine with it, because, like, it hasn't been my favorite song on the album. So this, like, you know, if we're talking about, like, songs that I'm going to revisit, or, like, if I put this album on again and I'm going to be very excited for that song to come back, I mean, I'm looking at Man of the Year. I'm looking at Shapeshifter. I'm looking at pretty much everything up to this point. Not a bad song, but it hasn't grabbed me in all the ways. And all that trauma rehashing just because Lorde got horny while high. Well, and see, there you go. Clearblue.
After the ecstasy, testing for pregnancy, praying in MP3. I try letting the answer be part of the dances. I trip and I stumble, yeah, baby, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. I feel you answer, my hips moving faster. I rode you till I cried. How's it feel being this alive? I remember how it feels to be.
So, pretty explicit here in this one. As it sounds, how it's paced, right? It's under 2 minutes here. So, again, when I see songs that, have lyrics and are much shorter, this is just something that they just needed to get out for the project, right? This is something that needs to be said, or else it wouldn't be here otherwise. Unless it's filler. Although, and maybe you can make the argument that this one is filler, but it's coming in at about halfway through the album, right? More than halfway through the album. This is a nice interlude. This is a nice way to break up the pacing. Maybe we're getting into another side, another theme of something. No real, transition there within the lyrics to tell me that the theme's about to change. But as I'm listening to it, I think it works pretty well as a spacer of sorts, not filler, a spacer. Filler would mean okay, they just wanted 11 tracks on this thing, so they just shat this out. Very, very clear direction for this one, just being an acapella. She only has a vocoder and a dream for this one. Yeah, I was going to no, that's a good point, Pink Blue. Thank you for bringing that up. This, talking about being a favorite daughter and now, being nobody's daughter. Maybe we're in that Shapeshifter kind of line of thinking still. We continue.
Soap, washing him
GRWM,
off my
groomer. No, there's no W in groomer.
Keeping it light, not on. Maybe you finally know who you wanna be. A grown woman in a baby tee. A grown woman. Girl's a grown woman. Next, been looking for a grown woman. A grown woman. A grown woman in a baby tee. A grown woman. Girl's a grown woman. Been looking for a grown woman. I've been looking for a grown woman.
All right. So that was Grown Woman. It's a GRWM stands for. Gotta say, for carrying on the themes of the album, so I think this might be the other side of Man of the Year, right? And it starts that, if you're thinking about that and that's still in your mind, so washing him off my chest, keeping it light, not overthinking it, jumping from stone to stone in the riverbed, I guess. So I think that brings, from stone to stone in the riverbed, maybe bringing back this idea of fluidity there, right? Somebody in the chat said a grown woman in a baby tee. That's a lyric that takes you out of it. But for me, I think that's maybe indicative of modern day. I don't know. Maybe that's not meant to be so literally, but I know a handful of women, grown women, who just happen to have smaller frames and will wear toddler t-shirts just because they got cute designs on them and shit like that. So again, that's my interpretation. I could be completely wrong there. Well, I can't wear toddler tees, but I wear crop tops because I'm short AF. Yeah, I know so many grown women who will at least give an honest peruse of toddler sections. And they're usually quite stretchy, so even if it isn't a perfect fit, it ends up being a tight fit. And it's a natural crop top sometimes, or just children's clothes, I guess. Yeah, I think she was referring to baby tees in the sense they're cropped little t-shirts. That's what I got. But more than anything else, this carries the themes of the album forward. I think it's the other side of Man of the Year, and it works quite well for me. So 3 songs left. Knew this was going to be a quick little in and out, although we've had a lot to discuss so far. Moving on, we got Broken Glass.
Just how much I paid for it. Did I cry myself to sleep about that? Cheat about that? Rot teeth about that? Oh. I wanna punch the mirror to make her see that this won't last. It might be months of bad luck, but what if it's just broken glass? Broken glass, just a face. Broken glass, just a face. I wanna punch the mirror to make her see that this won't last. It broken glass.
So that was Broken Glass, and I think that this is definitely, and tell me if I'm wrong, this is just my immediate interpretation of this, but I don't think you gotta turn over too many stones to know this is maybe a critique commentary on, self-image, and especially, how we want to get around the conversation of, body positivity, do we look right? So she says this, she mentions making weight. Now, being like, I played a lot of sports growing up. I knew a lot of wrestlers, right? So when they would use the term making weight, that was to go up and down weight classes, maybe for actresses or actors, making weight for whatever role they have to portray. I didn't know before this album, and maybe I still don't know, but like she had mentioned being an actress earlier. Does she act? She developed ED right around the pandemic, and it went on for years. Well, yeah, and if it went on for years in the past tense, and hopefully, this is wholly just a retrospective. I'm glad that Lorde is seeing the other side of that, in a better place, hopefully. Next song is the best song on the album, apparently. We're going to move on. This is If She Could See Me Now.
In the city, I hear the voices of the ancients. They're calling for us. Hear their Everything else falls away. Ha ha ha. Baby, whenever you break me, I'd watch it happen like an angel looking down. Red carpet. As for me, I'm going back to the clay. You can tell them, don't need fantasy. Oh God, if she could see me now. Oh God, if she could. Oh God.
All right, and so that was If She Could See Me Now, and I definitely understand why people think that this one's the best song on the record. It does give this very epic kind of feel. I think it's one of the louder ones on the album. And again, all the songs have done a pretty good job at progressing. Although there's a certain melancholy to this one as well. Did she so I'm hazarding to say a couple things here. So either this is like more so of a thing where she's like maybe talking about her past self. Maybe her past self has died, like, oh, if she could see me now. Or did her mother pass away? I think she's talking about herself. I was going to, yeah. So again, not a Lorde expert, obviously. Apparently her mom isn't dead. And so this runs a little bit more with, I think, what we've seen through the album so far as here I was when I was 17, right? Taking Molly or something like that, or just brought me back to something how I felt then. This is me now. No, I'm actually going to gaslight you all. Lorde's mom has actually passed away, and I'm correct. No. I hope Lorde and Lorde's mother live long, fulfilling lives full of happiness and love. Also, just this line,
So many other bitches.
I mean, come on. She's calling out everyone else. Okay. So, almost feel like I want to do a recap again, but we stopped doing that here on the channel since the last time we reacted to Lorde. We no longer do a recap on the album. We listen to it straight, then I give my conclusions. So last track, David.
Worthy opponent, flint to my blade, now we're playing with shadows. If I'd had virginity, I would have given that too. Why do we run to the ones we do? Cause you dialed me out when it got hard. Uppercut to the throat, I was off guard. Pure heroin mistaken for featherweight. So why do we run to the ones we do? But I don't belong to anyone. Am I ever gonna love again? Am I ever gonna love again? Am I ever gonna feel like a friend? Am I ever gonna love again? Till you understand. Tell it to him.
Oh, and it just ends like that. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. What? Okay, so for this song, you know, I think it kind of takes us back to maybe some of the sounds we heard from Man of the Year, right? Kind of opening up with like that synthy kind of gospel thing, I think. At least that was my first immediate thought. But what was true for the rest of the album? So, you know, for the consistency of the sound of this record and how the songs themselves were paced, I mean, there is such a definite build to each and every single one of these songs. And I think you can look at this one pretty fittingly at the end as like the main crescendo, because what's going on in the last 30 seconds of this song? I mean, she needs to be behind the booth for every album going forward. Lorde is her own artist. She can collaborate with whoever the hell she wants to. That's fine. Go ahead. But it just, I mean, it was like the bass, it was blown out, but there were still some things that sounded just so crystal clear, and the balancing between those two sounds as the song kind of came to a close. And it barely gave us any time to breathe and leave out of it, because it's just,
Tell it to him.
and then it just ends, right? Tell it to him, and then it just ends. Really, really, really kind of impressed with that. And I will go ahead and open up the conclusion part of this reaction. Ladies and gentlemen, I think because I may have come into this with the preconceived notions of having listened to Melodrama and knowing that like that album, out of all the other albums that we've reacted to here on the channel, didn't hit me, didn't strike me in ways that other albums have, even though, you know, already it's not really my wheelhouse. It's not very close to maybe music I'd be listening to otherwise, and music I'm a little bit more familiar with. Call it, maybe now I know how to listen to Lorde, but from a production standpoint alone, I think Lorde deserves all the credit in the world and more for her work in the booth on this one. You know, we had those like signature, like weird little, I don't know. Oh, I'm just noticing the birth control on the album cover here. That's a cute little thing to notice, I guess. Beyond the production, right? And actually, no, fuck that. We're going to talk about the production here. The bass came through so well on so many of these tracks, and I didn't feel as though her voice was too far back in the mix, too far in front of the mix. Everything was balanced really, really, really well. You know, I don't know how much that has to do with how these songs were composed. So obviously, we had a number of composers that were working on this one. So Dan, who's also worked with Olivia Rodrigo, and Chappell Roan was on this one. And from a composition standpoint as well, I was way more into this than I was melodrama. Man of the Year, I think takes the cake as being probably the best track.
It's good shit, pal.
I really did enjoy this run of 3 songs here from Shapeshifter, Man of the Year, Favorite Daughter, and then we get into Current Affairs, and like I think that was a weird conversation to have for the stream because this is my first time really thinking about any of this, and I'm not the most well rested, so I don't mean to misspeak, but like on one hand, I can see where like Lorde is coming from, is saying, well, it was pure, it's true, she's an artist, maybe she feels things very deeply, and on the other end of that, it's a little weird that like you have to mention it, and if anybody's read even a little bit into this scenario, we might go like, hey, that's a little weird, right? But I think at the end of the day, you can say, well, she's being transparent about it. And I think that is going along with, I think, this general idea of how I see, created works, right? It's not so much what the artist says it's about, it's how it's interpreted by us. So then the conversation kind of goes out of Lorde's hand there. But it's that, hey, this is what I have to say. What are your thoughts? What do you think about this? That I do give Lorde credit for. I love the connection between Grown Woman and Man of the Year. This concept of, gender identity, right? And how Lorde has experienced that within herself, and how she is empowered by that, and how it makes her feel more like a human fucking being. I actually think that Grown Woman might be one of the sleeper songs on this record, as far as, again, this album came out last week, right? So and I shouldn't be judging from Spotify plays, but I think Grown Woman deserves a little bit more gratitude than what's been given to it, at least right now, right? And these themes of who I was then, this is who I am now. You could put that into Shapeshifter, from what was that, and then into If She Could See Me Now. So definitely not about her mother dying. And Pink Blue here in the chat made a great point about the I lifted your body weight at the gym, and also a lot of good songwriting in that song as well. So she's exercising her demons at the gym, right? But maybe using that, I lifted your weight for when she did have these struggles with self-image and, her own body weight that we saw in Broken Glass. The next song, If She Could See Me Now, lifting up that weight. I took a little bit more of a metaphorical approach, just as far as like, it's just like weight lifted off of you, right? It's not, it's basically like, I can lift this up now, the metaphorical struggle. This burden I was carrying is now so much easier to carry than it was before. I'm a much more comfortable person, and that's what I got. Although there seems to be some turbulence within that still, but maybe a light at the end of the tunnel, maybe a more optimistic outlook on things there. So case in point, the production was right up my alley on this one, and I really jived with the themes a lot more. I don't know if that has to deal with just life experience through Lorde. Does that have to do with me as how I've interpreted any given artist reacting to their work on this channel? This isn't the case of where like I've done a series on Linkin Park or a series on Taylor Swift where I've said that like I just have to learn how to listen to that artist. I still have a very short sample size with Lorde, and it's really only the one other album I haven't listened to. It's Solar Power, so I still haven't listened to that one. If you want me to, let me know. I think there were a lot of, how to say it, maybe like taboo themes in this album that I think were handled with a decent bit of grace. Maybe the outlier there being Current Affairs. You let me know. I think if to that point, if there were taboo subjects that were carried with a lot of grace, Current Affairs might be the one outlier there. Although even still, I think it was handled okay. If you're in a vacuum, you don't know anything about it, you might be, none the wiser. But if you do know, I could see how you might get out a little tiny pitchfork and say, "Mah, mah, mah." I thought there was going to be a drop at the end with all that build-up she played us, although I imagine she did that to add to the song as a whole of uncertainty and not knowing what the future holds. This album frustrated me in so many ways. It's funny, this is the album you liked. It was interesting to see here in the chat what lyrics worked for some people, what lyrics didn't work for other people. I would say if there's one lyric that kind of took me out of it, it was after the ecstasy, testing for pregnancy, playing an MP3. I could see like, okay, all right, this is just like the most Lorde thing I've ever heard. Maybe, you know, drugs, sex, and then music. You know, just like, hey, remember you're listening to a Lorde song. This is a Lorde song. But, you know, just given how I interpreted this song as kind of just being a spacer, not necessarily filler, I didn't feel like my time was necessarily wasted with this one. It was interesting seeing as we went from song to song, people were like, oh, this lyric took me out of it. That lyric took me out of it. If there was any lyric that took me out of it, it may have been this one, but I felt the song was so succinct. Just given the time, I didn't really feel as though that was a demerit on the album. You know, Melodrama was maybe a little bit more flat for me. This one was peaks and valleys in ways of setting the music down, not necessarily weak points of the album, but definitely more so just a really good ride. As each song kind of had its progression, then we went into the next song, and then the next song built up, and then we went down. I liked riding the waves of this one. So that was my reaction to Virgin by Lorde. Please let me know your thoughts on my thoughts as we reacted to this record. I love to hear what you have to say. I think there's a lot to say in this record. If you liked what you saw, please do let me know by liking the video and subscribing to see more of these videos. If you want to see my Melodrama reaction, it's up on the channel. You can go ahead and watch that now, as well as let me know any other album by any other artist that you want me to react to. If you want to catch us live, make sure you click one of the links down in the description. And if you ever want to catch any of these reactions before they come up on YouTube unedited, make sure you go ahead and check out my Patreon, where you can get exactly that for $1. You know, I'm sure if like you go to the bar and you order a drink, let's say it's a vodka cran, right? And you're paying in cash. Let's say you have cash. I know a lot of you don't, but let's say you're paying in cash. What do? You slap a little dollar down for the bartender for doing their work, right? It's boom, right? It's quick. It's easy, and you get more than just a vodka cran from me, ladies and gentlemen. But with that said, I've been Jerry Bees. You've been awesome. Take it easy.
Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog. Shark.